It's a pleasure to be here at the Yoga House, and thanks to Katie and Michael for inviting me, and thanks to them for opening this place. If you're from this area, you're very lucky to have a place like this here, where real yoga is taught. Yoga is taught all over the place, but real yoga is a little harder to find. Yoga that's not just physical exercise, yoga that's not just spinning with, sitar music or something like that. And the yoga studios, especially yoga studios like this, are kind of functioning nowadays as the new churches, as many people have kind of gotten disaffected with the old churches, the old synagogues, and are still looking for something that will, help them live a good life. They know that there's something missing in the secular life, that there's something missing in the life of just consumerism, just buying, just consuming, greed, selfishness, and yet they, not quite ready, not quite ready to go back to, fundamentalisms and, exclusivistic understandings of religion. I'm a Christian and I'm not a Jew, I'm not a Hindu, I'm a Buddhist, and that means I'm not a Muslim, I'm not a, these kind of exclusivistic clubs that sometimes religions function as. And that hasn't worked out very well, has it? That's what causes people to have wars with each other, and very virulent ones actually. The wars that are fought over religion are the worst wars. They're way worse than wars fought over territory or oil or something like that. The ones that are fought on this kind of holy war basis, and that holy war basis comes in all forms. The idea that that there are other beings, human beings who are evil. That's a religious understanding. That there are evil people. And of course they wouldn't be us. Which means that we're good and they're evil. So this is dichotomizing. This is separating. This is alienating. It's alienating from each other. So I think people come maybe even a little bit subconsciously, to a yoga studio like this, kind of like, I want yoga, kind of like sort of hypnotized, But what they really want is an alternative. What they really want is an alternative both to the shallowness of consumer capitalism, the shallow greed of consumer capitalism, and then I want an alternative to the old school understandings of religion. Somebody sent me a tweet from the Dalai Lama. Do you know that the Dalai Lama tweets? And it was something to the effect of, it's time to separate spirituality and ethics from religion. And that's I totally agree with that sentiment, actually. And as usual, the Dalai Lama is on the cutting edge. It's time to drop the isms and the ologies and the separating nature of religions, and find the commonalities. Find out that we're all the same. We're all equal. Buddhist, Hindu, all of these categories, they're just separating us. So we're equal in two ways, I think. We're all equal in that we're all having problems. The Buddha, this is the first thing that the Buddha said. This is the Buddhism 101. Life is suffering. Dukkha. They call it dukkha in Sanskrit. And then people will go along, maybe we should try to find a better English term for dukkha, because, people hear life is suffering, they go, oh, you Buddhists, you're so depressing. You should get out more, maybe. Go to a movie once in a while. Life isn't that bad. A nice day, you're in Piermont. What's wrong? What's so wrong? And that's not exactly what he meant, of course. That you just sort of look out at the blue sky and go, oh. What he meant was that it's subject to suffering at any time. Subject. Okay. So, the way I put it is that there are two conditions that we're in. There are two possible conditions that we're in this kind of life. We're either in the middle of a disaster or we're between them. And if you don't believe me, if you're in the middle of a disaster, you believe me. If you're in the middle of a disaster, I don't have to say any more about life is suffering. You know, it's clear. It's clear to you that life is suffering. I always tell a story, I'll never forget it. I had my best friend, one of my best friends, committed suicide just out of the blue. He ran his car 90 miles an hour into a telephone pole. And no one saw it coming. It just like, his wife didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming, nobody saw it coming. So I remember I had a dinner with his widow about a week later. And I was talking, this was many years ago now, and I was talking to her about John's death, and I said, well, you know, John's death has just, you know, has, for me, just gotten me more serious about my spiritual life. And she said, well, what is your spiritual life? And I said, well, I'm trying to learn Buddhism, I'm trying to understand Buddhism. I said, what does Buddhism teach? And I said, well, you know, the first thing that Buddha said, you know, said that life is suffering. And, you know, she just looked at me across the table, we were at a restaurant, just like, is that controversial to anyone? You see, she just lost her husband. She's 40 years old. She was expecting to live her whole life with this guy. And then all of a sudden he's gone. See? And you know how dead people are? They're just gone and they don't come back. Have you noticed that about dead people? You know? And you kind of look around for them. It's kind of like when you get a car stolen. Have you ever had a car stolen? You can't quite believe it's gone. And you kind of look all around for it. You got car stolen. You know? And it's just like that with people who die. You just can't quite believe they're gone. You keep thinking, well, maybe they'll show up again. And they never show up again. And so, you know, if you've had an experience like that, or if you're in an experience like that, you just lost a loved one, or maybe you got some serious health problems, or maybe you just lost your job or something like that, then, you know, it's clear to you that life is suffering. Very clear. But then, you know, then how it goes, right? We've all been in disasters like that. I don't think anyone who hasn't been in a disaster like that would ever even show up to something like this. They wouldn't even show up, you see. They'd be out sailing or doing something else going, oh, you know, everything's fine, you see. But actually, there's nobody like that, really. Everyone's had disasters. So if you're in a disaster, or if you've had disasters, join a club, okay? You're not special in that sense. You're not like a special victim. Everyone's like this. You get into a business like mine, spiritual teacher business. And you know, you just hear stories one after another after another. It's amazing. It's amazing how ordinary people have had the most horrendous things go wrong with them. Ordinary looking people, just horrendous. It's amazing that we're all just not in bed, you know, just like paralyzed in bed somewhere, going like, I can't do it anymore. You know, it's really it's quite amazing that we are as resilient as we are as human beings. So, but then you know, something happens. Like, you know, after the disaster, you know, the kind of cloud sets back in. There's a kind of a drug haze or something like that sets back in. You go, oh, that was bad. That was a bad time back then. But you know, I'm feeling better, a little bit better now. I'm getting back on my feet. You know, going back to work now. I got back. You know, I took a couple of weeks off, and then what? And then what do we say? And maybe this won't happen to me again. And maybe I'll just somehow be like Keanu Reeves in the Matrix. You know, in the Matrix where he like dodges bullets all the time. Those bullets come and they like slow down conveniently. Slow down to like this level and you just go, oh, close call. Thinking that we could just somehow dodge bullets in life. And it's not like that. The bullets don't slow down in real life. They're coming fast and furious, actually. So if you're in between a disaster, then you got to kind of work at it a little bit and go like, you know, what do you think? What do you think? That you somehow are going to be immune now for the rest of your life from any kind of disaster like that? The next one is coming. It's just around the corner. Who knows when it's going to happen? If you're between the disasters, get ready for the next one. Okay? Prepare yourself. And that's the spiritual life. The spiritual life is preparation, is disaster preparation. It is. It's so you have some tools. So you have some weaponry, you know, to deal. And if you don't have it, you're just a victim again, over and over and over again. Just a victim. Is there any surfing nearby here? Do you surf in the Hudson?
Across the island.
Across the island. So, you know, if you've been out in the waves ever, you know, there's this part in the waves that surfers know. It's called the impact zone. You know what the impact zone is? It's where the waves crash. And if the waves are big enough and you're in the impact zone, you can really get in trouble, you know, because you just kind of like, you get caught. You get what they call caught inside. And you get caught and the wave just pushes you down. And then you kind of glug, 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 try to find the surface. And, you know, and if the waves are big enough and regular enough, the next one's right on you. As soon as you get up, the next one's right on you. So you know, and you can drown in the impact zone unless you get out of the impact zone. And people who don't have a spiritual preparation are just in the impact zone, just waiting for the next wave, have no preparation, have no surfboard. See, the surfboard is a flotation device. This is like one of the first things that you learn as a surfer, is that, you know, never mind about like, you know, doing, you know, 360s in the air and all like that, you know, this can save your life. The surfboard can save your life. But if you don't have a surfboard, if you don't have a safety device, if you don't have some tools, then you're just a victim, you see, just a victim of whatever samsara, we call it samsara, this kind of suffering life, whatever throws you away, without any, you know, without any wherewithal. And your job is to not remain your job on earth, okay? Maybe you were wondering, what am I doing here? What's the point? If you haven't been wondering, you know, wake up and wonder. Okay? You know, come on. How many more years before you go like, well, what's the point? You know? And if you're wondering what the point is, here, I'll tell you for free, okay? The point is to be happy. Okay? That's the point of life. The point is to learn how to be happy so you can help other people be happy. And it's as simple as that. And if you don't like that, you know, if you want to get more complex, you know, I'm sorry. You know, go to the university or something, get a PhD. You're going to get really complex. I'm going to get all furrowed brow about stuff. You know, like, well, I wonder what the problem is. You could read existentialist philosophy, you know. But it comes down to just that, okay? We're hardwired for it, actually. Just wanting to be happy and avoid pain. And it's a universal trait. It motivates everything we do in life. From the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep. Everything we do, just trying to be happy. And avoid suffering, right? That's the two main things. So if you're interested in really being happy, you got to get the tools for it. You see, you got to get the tools that will keep you happy, not just during the good times. Not just the, you know, blue sky Saturday afternoon Piermont days, salad days in June, you know, but in the hard times too. When the next wave comes to and glug glug glug, down you go. And if you don't have that preparation, you're just a constantly victim, just a victim of circumstance. And many of us have spent our whole lives thinking, yeah, well, what can I do? It's just fate, you know, whatever happens, just fate. Que sera, sera. What will be, whatever, yeah? And that's no way to live. That's not a way to be happy. That's not a way to feel anything other than just totally victimized over and over and over again by life. And by other people also, by the way. You know, it's not just events, you know, it's other people. You know, imagine you have an irritating person in your life, for example. And if you think that, you know, that things just happen for no reason, it's just all fate, then every time the irritating person starts being irritating, you're just you're a victim of it. What can I do? You know, bad luck. I better try to. Sometimes we try to like escape it. You know, we try to move maybe move to the other side of the river. Maybe there are no irritating people over there somehow, and then you know, unpack the U-Haul and there they are again. Different faces, but right. So stop. The main purpose of my book one of the main purposes of writing this book was to try to empower you again. You've never been actually disempowered. We've all disempowered ourselves. We've always been masters of our own destiny. We've always been in charge of our own lives, but then we kind of have renounced it, or you know, kind of, you know, been clueless about it. We find it sometimes easier to be a victim. We certainly find it easier to blame other people for our problems, right? Especially for our unhappiness and our problems. It's like somebody's fault. As soon as a disaster occurs, actually, you know, both at a social level and an individual level, the first thing we do is to try to find someone else to blame, right? You know, like in an airplane crash or something like that. You know, it's who did this? You know, was it a mechanic error? Was it pilot error? You know, we got to find someone to blame. Scapegoating, they call it, scapegoating, and we do that in our individual lives too. When things go wrong, we think, well, somebody else did it to me. It's somebody else's fault. So, A Spiritual Renegade. It's A Spiritual Renegade's Guide to the Good Life is the name of the title. A spiritual renegade is somebody who's interested in taking control back into their lives and stop being a victim and stop blaming others. And that's kind of like spirituality 101. See, without that, can't move any further, really. If we continue to say, no, just a victim of fate, just a victim of circumstance, just a victim of other people and what they say and do to me, then you're out of control. There's nothing you can do. You see, if you believe that, then you've ceded power and responsibility. You've ceded it. You've given up power and responsibility over your own life. So take the bull by the horns and say, enough already. I'm tired of feeling this victimized. I'm tired of feeling powerless. I'm tired of feeling like just waiting for the next wave, you know, trying to survive, you know, trying to get enough air in between disasters, you know, the next wave coming and going to push me down again. And take control of things. So, how do we do that? Well, the first thing is to do it. Just do it and say, okay, I'm not going to blame other people anymore for my unhappiness. And I'm not going to expect other people to fix me. So that's the other sort of thing. We sort of have this kind of idea that maybe if I found the right partner, you know, that they would make me happy. You ever said that to yourself or thought that to yourself? You know, I know that other loser didn't make me happy. In fact, they made me so unhappy, as if they had that power too. See, like nobody has the power to either make you unhappy or happy. And so, you know, the making the unhappy thing is a way to blame other people for your problems. They made me unhappy. And so, like, you know, I always wonder, how do we think that happens? Well, they said this thing to me. Well, so they said something to you that means that syllables and decibels came out of their mouth and traveled through space and hit your eardrum. And then what happened exactly to make you unhappy? Like what, you know, some kind of inner transformation occurred, you know, like some silver stuff came, like what do we think exactly? We heard words and we interpreted them in such a way that we made ourselves unhappy. Isn't that what happens actually? We just make ourselves unhappy. How can words make you unhappy? Just syllables and decibels, how can they make you unhappy? It's your own interpretation of those words, isn't it? See? So that words can't make you happy or unhappy. And neither can even physical things. Physical, like, you know, beating or something like that can't actually make you unhappy. It's just, you know, it's kind of just sensation in a way. Some people find that very, very sexually alluring. No, really. I mean, right? I mean, the same kind of pain could be interpreted as like something that they, you know, would find really, really erotic. But we interpret it, you know, most of us. We won't be asking for any hand shows here interpretation. But most of us interpret that same sort of physical sensation as pain, and you know, and then we get angry or get upset and something like that. It's just interpretation. It's just interpretation of sensation. See, can we take control and learn how to reinterpret things in such a way that we can never be hurt? You see, could never be hurt. And so that's a message for today. I'm supposed to talk, I think, on transforming problems into opportunities. Isn't that right? So that's one element of living a good life. That's one element of being in control of your life. So that no matter what happens, no matter what unexpected, unwanted thing happens, you can presto changeo, turn it into something positive rather than something negative. And wouldn't that be good? See, then you're in control. So I'll back up a little bit and talk about some of the other parts of the book, and then we'll come back. There are the sort of whole the book is sort of revolves around a kind of a single verse from a text called the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. It's a Sanskrit text, 1,200 years old or so, from India, from the Mahayana Buddhist tradition. And the verse goes like this: if there's something you can do about it, Why get upset? If there's something you can do about it, what's the point of getting upset? Just do it. If there's something you can do about it, don't just like sit there and whine or stress out or have big anxious things. And, you know, just do it if there's something you can do about it. And then the next verse, next part of the verse. And if there's nothing you can do about it, what are you supposed to do?
Why get upset?
What's the point? Doesn't do any good about it. Doesn't do any good if there's nothing you can do about it. Doesn't help to get upset. Doesn't change it. There's nothing you can do about it, we said, right? So getting upset's not going to help, and just makes it worse in a way. Just makes it worse, right? So then the next question is figuring out which is which. What can we do something about, and what do we need to just relax about, because we can't do anything about it. And it's the answer to that is probably not the one that you expect. I think usually we think that we can't do anything about our past. The past happened, right? The past happened the way it did, and we can't do anything about that. And then we also think sometimes at least that we can't do anything about our future. Because, you know, who knows what life will bring us, you know, que sera, sera again, right? Whatever will be, you know, fate, destiny, whatever. See, can't do anything about the past, can't do anything about the future. So what we think we can do about something, the time that we think we can actually do something about is the present, right? We can control our present somehow. It's actually 180 degrees the opposite. So we'll work this out a little bit, okay? Can you change the past? Of course you can change the past. Of course you can change the past. Does the past exist or not exist? What do you think? Does it exist or not exist? There's two possible answers, okay? Come on. Does it exist or not exist?
It exists.
It exists. Somebody says exist. Does anyone say not exist? I'll say it doesn't exist. How could it exist? It's gone. It's past. You could say it's past. That's what past means, isn't it? Right? It's gone. So at one level, you can say it doesn't exist at all, of course. So what's the point of getting all upset about it? It's gone, done, finished, finito, right? But at another level, of course, you can say, of course, it does exist. But then the question is when? When does the past exist? It exists now. It exists as part of the present mind, isn't it? It exists as what we call memories. Do memories change or do they stay the same? What do you think?
Change.
All the time. Okay? All the time. The past, ready? The past is never like it used to be. Right? Our memories of the past are constantly changing. Every time we think about the past, we constantly, you know, whatever part of the past we're thinking about, we change it a little bit. We reinterpret it slightly. And over the course of years, that reinterpretation can be very dramatic. Right? Anyone unclear on this? Does everyone think that they have like what we call a photographic memory, where it's just like snapshots? I don't think anybody who has a photographic memory actually has a photographic memory. I think it's impossible. Because the present is constantly changing. And so the part of the mind that we call, the part of the present mind that we call memory, has to also be constantly changing. Revisionist history is the only history there is. Every time we think about the past, we think about it slightly differently. So can we take control of that process of revisionist history and gift ourselves with a better past? See, take control of it means not just be the victim of it, not just be the, you know, sort of powerless victim of, oh, I can't help it, this happened to me, this happened to me. Now, we have to be realistic about, you know, about this thing. You can't change the data. You can't change like where you were born and which parents you had. And, you know, you can't change the language that you learned to speak. You can't change that. But you certainly can change your understanding of these things. It's interpretation. It's just interpretation, right? So can we interpret the past in a way that's more beneficial to us, in a way that's more happiness producing? And take control of that process. You see, then you're empowering yourself to change your past in a way, right? And here's how you do it, okay? I'm not going to go into it long because I want to get to the other thing. I want to get to like transforming problems into opportunities, because that's what I was going to talk about. but in the book, there's two chapters on how to change the past, how to gift yourself with a better past. Number one, forgive them. Forgive everybody who ever hurt you. Let it go. The only person you're hurting by not forgiving is, guess who? Yourself. Only yourself. It's like those cartoons that you used to see where the ghost carries around all his chains, you know, with big ball and chain. And we're just carrying around big balls and chains going, oh, I'm so unhappy. They hurt me, they did this, they betrayed me. And the only person who hurt is yourself. Let it go. Let the ball and chain go. You know, we have this huge resistance to doing it, don't we? I'm looking at some faces going, I'm not going to do that. No way. You know, and we all feel that way. We all feel like when somebody tells us we have to forgive the people that hurt us. I mean, no, I'm not talking about like little hurts. Most of us have major traumas from, you know, our encounters with other people in the past. Okay? No, you're not alone in that either. You know, we all kind of want to feel so special about this, don't we? Special victim. I'm a special victim. Isn't there like a show like that? Special. You have your own little personal show, the special victim show. You know, me, starring me, the special victim. We've all been victimized. We all feel like we've been victimized. We all feel like we've been hurt. Everyone, universally. I'll tell you a story about this. There was a woman, according to the Buddhist text, there was a woman who came to the Buddha in the Buddhist time. And she had just lost her only child. And she says, Buddha, please restore my child to me. And the Buddha says, surprisingly, yeah, okay, I will. All you need to do is go to the village and find a mustard seed. Bring a mustard seed back from the kitchen of a household that hasn't had a tragedy like yours. And so she goes down to the village and starts knocking on doors. And you could do this too. You start knocking on doors means like you ask other people, has anything like this ever happened to you? Have you have any problems? And he said, if you pay attention to what other people are telling you, you'll find out everyone's living like tremendous pain, has tremendous tragedies have occurred. So of course she can't find it. She can't find the mustard seed. Everyone's had these things, so you're not alone. How did I get off on that? What was I talking about? Something else.
Forgiving people.
Forgiving, that's right. And so none of us really want to do this because we feel like, in a way, all right, you ready? In a way we feel special because of our pain. We feel like, well, I'm special, and if I forgave them, and if I wasn't carrying around this ball and chain, maybe I wouldn't be so special anymore. And guess what? You're not special at all anyway. Okay? Give up trying to be so damn special. Just be ordinary. Everyone's in the same boat, and it's the Titanic. Everyone's like, and so don't say like, oh, I'm the only person on the Titanic. Everyone's on the Titanic equally. Everyone's suffering. So give up the specialness, this kind of masochistic idea that the special pain will make me an individual somehow. It's really perverse, actually, and you're only hurting yourself. You're destroying your own happiness. It's like holding on to a burning coal, not forgiving. Holding on to grudges is like holding on to a burning coal. And burning coals hurt. Holding a grudge hurts. Every time you think of it, every time you relive it, it's like destroying your present happiness. And then, somebody comes along, like maybe at the yoga house in Piermont, and says, let go of the goddamn coal already. And we go, no. I have a coal. I keep my coal. If I let go of my coal, well, then what? See, we have this kind of fear. I wouldn't be so special. I wouldn't be a coal holder. I wouldn't be a special coal holder. Or I think it's kind of also like this. If I let go of my coal, then the other person would get away with it. Not forgiving is we have this kind of perverse idea that we're somehow punishing them. That we're punishing the other person for their wrong. And of course, the point here is not to somehow say they didn't hurt you. They did hurt you. It's not about forgetting. That's stupid. Forgiving is not forgetting. Of course, if they didn't hurt you, you wouldn't have anything to forgive. Right? So as part of forgiveness is the acknowledgement that they hurt you, that they did this thing. They really did hurt you. But then we go, how is it possible that not forgiving is going to hurt them? It's going to get them back. It's perverse. It's illogical. Like drinking poison and hoping that the other person is going to drop dead. Not forgiving is just poison. It's just poison in your system. So let go of the cold. Unilaterally and preemptively. Unilaterally means without them asking for forgiveness, you could wait a long time for that to happen. For them to come crawling back and go, oh, you know, I'm so sorry. You know, 20 years ago I did this thing to you, and you know, haven't been able to sleep, you know, for 20 years, and you know, we've had this whole big fantasy of forgiveness that we run in our minds. And well, I'm not gonna forgive them until they ask for forgiveness. Well, you could wait your whole life for that to happen, and then die unhappy, poisoned every day by not doing it. See, that's let it go. And then the second part is gratitude. Changing your past through gratitude and being grateful for all the things that other people have done for you your whole life. Instead of like concentrating on the negative things, start concentrating on the positive things. And change your past. Okay, that's enough about that. Then change your future. Can you change your future? Yes or no? What do you think? We can go through the same kind of routine. Does the future exist or not exist? What do you think? Two possible answers again. And from one point of view, you can say, of course it doesn't exist. It's not come yet. Future doesn't come yet, hasn't come yet. So again, you tell me what's the point of worrying too much about it? Hasn't come yet. You know, and here's another kind of like perverse thing. How we're causing ourselves unhappiness. Again, it's not somebody else who's causing us unhappiness, not somebody else's fault. We're causing our own unhappiness. We're masochists. We're masochists in denial. You know, because we think, no, I want to be happy. But then we continue to like cling on to the very things that cause us more unhappiness. Like, for example, thinking about all the possible things that can go wrong in the future. Right? I mean, it would be one thing if the future hasn't come, so kind of pretty much any kind of vision of the future is just like a kind of a hallucination in a way. It's just a dream. But it would be one thing if just like all those dreams were pleasant ones. Like, oh, I can hardly wait for next week to happen. You know, next week's going to be so awesome. Right? I mean, sometimes we have a few versions of that, but generally it's like, oh my God, this could happen. That person can do this to me, or you know, I could lose this. Running all these scenarios about all the problems that we could have in the future. Isn't it destroying our present happiness? Yeah? So that's not productive. So how can we avoid thinking about the future, imagining the future, in a way that isn't just like harming us, isn't destroying our present happiness? So the future doesn't exist, but it exists in one way, but it exists in another way in exactly the same way that the past exists. When does the future exist? Yeah, now, as part of our present mind, our expectation of the future is where the future is, how the future actually does exist. So can we figure out a way to have a better expectation? You go, of course. Can you change the future? So then you're going to come back to, can I change the future? If there's something you can do about it, just do it. Don't stress, don't worry, just do it. So what can I do about the future? Well, live a very good life in the present. Have you heard this? What goes around, comes around. Heard that expression before? Here's another version of it. You shall reap what you sow. And then you go, what? Reap, sow? What? You know, I moved here from New York. I don't know anything about reap, sow. Sow means plant. Reap means harvest. If you plant a seed, the seed grows into an effect, and then you experience it. Okay? That's what they call karma, of course. And it's not just the Eastern traditions that have karma. Karma is a universal, fundamental, essential feature of any ethical system. If you do good, good will come to you. If you do bad, negative things will come to you. It's essential. If you don't believe that, you don't have an ethical system. You see, it's just all random then. And then you become victimized again, once again. Oh, whatever, you know, whatever happens then. Okay, so take control of the process. Now, I wonder how you could create better karma, you know, in the present, so you don't have to worry about the future. Then the future will be, you know, positive effects rather than all the things you're worried about. So I wonder, what is good karma? And, you know, it's not, I don't have anything new to tell you about this. You've heard it many, many times. We've all heard it many, many times. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Heard these things before? Word. You know, come on. We've heard it many, many times. Don't lie. Don't use your words to divide people. Use your words to bring them together. Don't envy other people's success and happiness. Don't take inordinate interest in other people's suffering. This is just the rules. Them's the rules. And these are, millennia old. Heard them over and over and over again in all the world's traditions, all the world's spiritual traditions. They teach the same rules. You find me an authentic religious tradition that says, steal as much as possible as long as you don't get caught. So that'll work out for you. Sleep with anyone you want to, just make sure that, you keep the blinds down. Huh? They don't see, nobody teaches that, right? So live a good life, live a good moral life, and then relax about the future. The future will be fine. Have some faith in the system. If it's gone around, it will come back. So make sure what goes out is something that you can feel comfortable with, having come back in whatever form. All right, so now you're taking care of your past, taking care of your future. That only leaves one other time, which is the only time actually that exists, which is the present, right? And the present, by the way, kind of keeps changing on you. Have you noticed? Like, as soon as you try to find the present, it's like past. So here's from the book a couple of pieces of advice. Now, I'll set it up a little bit. Can you change the present in the present? Well, there's two possibilities again. No or yes. At least one person said yes. And of course, we spend our whole lives trying to change the present in the present. So this one's a little hard. Can't change the present in the present. Can't change it. And the proof of that is kind of simple. It's kind of right in front of our eyes. If we could change the present in the present, why would we ever choose to have a bad day? Why wouldn't we just say, no, I don't want to have a bad day today? And then like you remember that old show Bewitched, where Elizabeth Montgomery, she just wiggles her nose, and then all of a sudden, bad day just goes away. You see? And like we actually try that. Or I Dream of Jeannie also, she's like remember that show? She just like moves her ponytail around and things like suddenly change. And we kind of like keep trying to do that over and over again. The phrase that I've coined for this is, stop honking your horn in gridlock. The present is like gridlock. It is what it is. Gridlock. The people who have left New York, remember gridlock? And then some people decide, I know, we'll honk, as if that will change it. You see? Can you change the present in the present? Well, can you change gridlock just by honking, or doing those things, or moving your ponytail around? You see, gridlock's not going to change, is it? And it's like that. Everything in the present is like that. Imagine you have an irritating person. They start being irritating. Can you just make them stop being irritating in the moment? Just by like wiggling your nose or saying the right thing. We kind of keep trying. Think like, well, maybe if I said this, or maybe if I did that, then they would stop being irritating. And kind of nobody's hit on 100% fail-safe, rule on this, right? Surefire rule. If there was some way to change an irritating person in the present and make them stop being irritating, we should have come up with the fail-safe rule sometime, surefire rule. So let's check. Two possibilities, basically, on how to change. If there were a way to make an irritating person stop being irritating in the moment, there's either it would be to be irritating back or to be not irritating back. So let's try, because we've tried both of them probably. This one, number one, we've tried a lot. Somebody's irritating to you, you'd be irritating back. Does that make them stop being irritating in the moment? Yes or no? No. Sometimes it seems to, though, doesn't it? When you're irritating back to an irritating person, then sometimes they go, ooh, you're even more irritating. Right? And sometimes they stand down a little bit. But then sometimes they say, oh, all right, game on, let's giddy up, right? And they become even more irritating. Yeah. So it can't be the cause of making an irritating person become less irritating in the moment, because it would work 100% of the time if it were the cause. So then we tried the other one, not being irritating back to an irritating person. Does that change them in the moment? No, you come to the yoga studio here, and you like, I'm trying to be a good person, and you know, and probably leave at 3 o'clock or whenever, 3:30, and there they'll be out there, irritating people. In fact, they may even be right here, right next to you. Who knows? So it'll happen pretty soon. So then you go, well, okay, I'm trying to be a nice person. I won't be irritating back to the irritating person. Will that make the irritating person stop being irritating in the moment? Well, again, sometimes it seems to, right? Sometimes it's like, you know, you don't rise to the bait, you're not like irritating back, and then they say, well, this isn't any fun. You know, just being irritating all by myself here, you know. But sometimes they get even more irritated, don't they? You go, oh, you think you're so better than me, you know, you goody two-shoes, right? Okay. So you can't change an irritating person in the moment. You can't change gridlock. Honking or not honking. So which one's better? If you're in gridlock, means the cars don't move, right? Which one's better? To honk your horn and to get all unhappy about it and to have everyone else look from the other cars going, you know, will you shut up already over there? And, you know, which one's better? To honk your horn or to not honk? Which one's going to change gridlock? Honking or not honking? Neither one. Which one's better? Not honking. What's the point? If there's nothing you can do about it, why get upset? What's the point? And which one's better for the future? Everything we do in the present is creating causes for a future effect. That's causality. Which one's better for the future? Honking or not honking? Well, it depends. You like gridlock? You see, if you don't like gridlock, then stop honking in gridlock. You just recreate it. Do you like irritating people? Nobody likes irritating people. It's not conducive to your mission to be a happy person to have irritating people. So don't recreate the causes for an irritating person. And they go, I don't know what those causes are. You know, we get all kind of like fuzzy when we have like unwanted things happen to us. How do you suppose you got an irritating person in the first place? What do you suppose? Like, work it out. What could have been the cause that brought you the effect of having somebody be irritating to you? What do you suppose? What goes around comes around. Work it out. Huh? Come on, come on. Don't make me do all the work here. Huh? You were irritating to someone else in the past. It's so funny that no one wants to admit that. Not so funny. Of course. So what's the stupidest thing to do in the present if you have an irritating person being irritating to you? What's the stupidest thing to do? Be irritating back. Right? Being irritating back isn't going to make them, not being irritating back isn't going to make them stop being irritating in the moment. They will be irritating for as long as the karma, the energy of the cause that brought you the irritating person lasts. No matter what you do in the present. But then what about your future? Which one's better for the future? And furthermore, now we'll move into the present, okay? Which one's going to make for a happier life in the present? If there's nothing you can do about it, what's the point of getting upset? What's the point of getting, you know, if you have an irritating person, what's the point of getting irritated back? It just makes your life worse. So, is there anything you can do about the future? Well, I already said there wasn't, but now I'm going to say there is, okay? You can reinterpret it, okay? You can't change the gridlock, but you can reinterpret it. So, let's work this out a little bit. Are there such things objectively out there, independently, coming at you as problems? Is there something out there like gridlock? Gridlock's out there going, I'm a problem, I'm a problem, I'm a problem. Is gridlock like that? Or irritating people, or anything? Is it out there saying like, you know, kind of with a tattoo, you know, I'm a problem, essentially, right? Born to be a problem. You know, gridlock, born to be a problem, something like that. Huh? What do you think? Is gridlock necessarily a problem? No. No. My favorite example for this is like, imagine you're commuting from Piermont to New York, fighting the traffic, and you get a flat tire, fighting the traffic to get to your dead-end job in New York City, and you get a flat tire on the highway. Is that a problem? First of all, can you just sort of do this to the flat tire? Can you just say, you know, make the flat tire go away? Of course not, right? Of course not. And it's all like that, okay? Everything in the present is just like the flat tire, just like the gridlock. You can't just make it go away or change it in the moment. But can you reinterpret it? Can you say, for example, instead of saying, oh my God, I've got a flat tire here on my way, in my awful commute on my way to my dead-end job, so I'm going to be late to my dead-end job. Or can you say, I have a flat tire here on my commute to my dead-end job. Got a little more free time this morning. You know what I mean? Can listen to some podcasts. So anyway, in this part of the book, I'll just I'll go through this quickly, and then if there are questions, we can take some and then do a book study. Here are some suggestions on how to reinterpret any event that occurs. Instead of having it be a problem, to reinterpret it as an opportunity. Transforming problems into opportunities. And then guess what? It isn't a problem anymore. It's still gridlock, okay? It's still an irritating person. It's still a flat tire. But you've seen it differently. And now I just I sort of curse you, okay? Because once you've heard this, once you've heard that there are alternatives to seeing like gridlock as just a problem, then it's up to you. You see, there are many people who will never hear that there's an opportunity to see gridlock as any other thing than a problem. And for them, there's no choice. See, it's just a problem because they have no choice. But if you've heard it, then you have a choice. And then it's up to you as to whether or not you're going to keep yourself unhappy by just being victimized by problems instead of like transforming it. Okay? You can change your past. We already went through that. You can change your future, and you can also change your present to this extent. You can reinterpret it. You can understand it differently. If you can understand anything that happens to you as, for example, a teaching, then it ceases to be a problem. Something that you can use to help yourself, to advance yourself, then it ceases to be a problem. All right, so I'll just go through a couple of strategies here, okay? And if anybody doesn't want to, if everyone wants to be a victim, continue, just kind of go like this, and in your own mind go la 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 la. Okay? Because once you've heard it, then you're responsible. You see, you're responsible. You have the option. Okay? And then stop blaming gridlock for your unhappiness. See the problem as an opportunity to eliminate egotistical pride. What did you think? That you were never going to have problems? You know, and many of us living in this kind of bubble, you know, here in, 21st century America, think, oh, this is so unfair that this should happen to me. See, I lost my job, or I had, a relationship go bad, or something like that. We have this kind of, I think it's mostly subconscious, idea that we deserve not to have problems. Somehow. Everyone else, we know that other people have problems, right? We know that other people have lost their jobs. We know that other people have, relationship. But then it happens to us, and we go, this is so unfair. Because why? Because we think somehow we should have some kind of protection. We should have some kind of immunity against problems. So this is a good one to kind of overcome that kind of pride. We have this as individuals, and we have this as societies, as nation states. That we somehow, it's somehow the way it should be. That it's somehow the way that God intended it. That, people in other countries work, 16-hour days in sweatshops, in order to, make clothing that we can buy at the Gap. That's the way, the order of things, somehow. And that can flip at any time. You know that, right? Within a generation or so, that could be completely flipped. We could be sending our children into sweatshops working for Chinese consumers. Quite possible, okay? Historically, this happened, time and time again. The Germany, in between the World War I and World War II, they were taking wheelbarrows of currency to buy a loaf of bread. It just happened like that. The economies can shift very, very radically, very quickly. And that, of course, can happen in an individual's life, too. There's no, you're not favored by God somehow, as opposed to all the other people that God's ignoring in sub-Saharan Africa or wherever it is. Everything can shift very quick. So something negative happens, you can use it as an opportunity to wake up a little bit to the kind of pride, this kind of egotism, arrogance that we have, that convinces us that we shouldn't ever have problems. Okay, that's number one. And then you made a problem into something useful. To overcome arrogance, that would be a very good thing for most of us to work on that a little bit, if you need it. And probably pretty much everyone does.